Carl here from Metal Wani, and with me today I have the good fortune of hanging with a true legend and keyboard wizard. It is, of course, none other than Jordan Rudess himself. Jordan, thank you once again so much for your time today, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.
My pleasure, dude. So it's been 4 years since you released The Unforgotten Path, and now you have your new solo album, Wired for Madness, on the horizon. And I just want to start by saying congratulations, because it's a fantastic record, dude.
Thanks, man.
Oh, of course, man, sincerely. But what I love about this record is that it kind of sees you returning to a larger sonic scope with, synthesizers and electronics boldly up front, as opposed to, the solo piano playing. And I was just wondering, what was it that saw you make this shift this time around?
Yeah, well, it's been a while since I've done an all-out kind of, studio rock electronic extravaganza, and I really wanted to do that. It's one of the synthesizers, exploring sounds, new ways of expressing sound with technology is a passion of mine. Mm-hmm. And I'm always interested, always ready to find outlets to do that. And of course, the ultimate outlet is in creating a big solo work like this. But it was, for many reasons, it wasn't the right time to do it before. But for scheduling reasons, for the fact that I hooked up with Mascot Records, who was really great, it kind of enabled me, if you will, to do this project, and inspired me to do this big project. So yeah, I dove in and said, okay, this is it. I'm making it happen, and managed to to compose all this music and produce all this stuff and find all the guests that I, wanted to include on the album, and create Wired for Madness. So, I'm very excited because it's coming out really, really soon, actually, as well, April 19th.
Can't wait, man, can't wait. And you kind of touched on something there which I find really interesting, because, living in a digital era, a lot of people are conflicted with how they feel about, they kind of get a bit skeptical, and there's trepidation around, are we losing that organic element to making music? But one of the things I love about you and your records is that you actually use the studio as an instrument, as opposed to, having something doing the work for you. Would this be fair to say, or what do you think, man?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I'm really into orchestration, and with the kind of tools, the kind of instruments that are available to me. It's, for me, the studio is a great, opening sonic kind of palette, if you will, for me to just to do what I do. It would be I kind of look at it like a painter with his canvas and full set of colors, and just being able to make whatever he's got, create whatever he's got in his mind. For me, that's very much that way musically. I mean, I really enjoy diving into my sonic world and all the cool instruments that I have at my disposal, because these days is so much magic on the computer. All the companies are making these great instruments which you can access. All I use is a master keyboard and a really smoking computer, and then the sonic world is my playground. Mm-hmm. So yeah, when I make an album in the studio, it's very much about just being completely free and just doing it. Yeah. Now, I'm not thinking about how am I going to do this live or anything like that. I'm just creating, which is really fun.
Well, you're right, and I think free is the word there, because throughout your career and on this record as well, you cross-pollinate genres masterfully, and that's not an understatement, all right? Even on this record alone, there's elements of classical, there's ragtime jazz, there's metal, and that's just to name but a few. And the thing that baffles me is that, and I don't know if it is or not, but it just sounds effortless to you. It's one of the reasons I love listening to you, because it gels so well together. But I'm wondering, is that a challenge, getting all these different kind of styles to find harmony in one piece, or is that something that comes quite naturally to you?
That's a great question. And sorry about the video. The hotel is obviously not allowing.
It's all good, man. Don't worry about it. I'm glad you enjoyed the question.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've always been someone who kind of naturally takes in all these styles and is able to, even without thinking about it so much, have them come out and be my own kind of blend. Mm-hmm. That to me is that's just one of the things that that comes pretty easily to me. So, and I've always been more attracted to, kind of understanding a style and bringing it in and bringing it into my musical mind and allowing it to kind of converge with the other things that are floating around my brain, and creating something new. I've been better at that, or more interested in that, I should say, than just like copying. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of people spend their time, I'm going to learn all of Keith Emerson's whatever trilogy album and learn how to play it. And I'm more, although I've done some things where I'll do covers of stuff, I'm more interested, well, let me understand what makes this tick. What kind of harmonies is he using? What's the rhythmic sensibility? How does the counterpoint work? And what really makes this style what it is? Right. So I have, to a certain extent, analyzed the things that interest me, just purely from, kind of a love of what I'm listening to say, what is it about this that's capturing me? What are the key elements of the style? So I'll do that and bring it in, and then when I go to compose, it's all there. I'm not academically thinking, okay, now I'm gonna, try to do, a King Crimson thing, and now I'm going to try to create a jazz thing. It's not really about that at all. It just kind of happens, which is the way that my music kind of flows out of me.
That's fascinating to me. And, you touched on something there and that I find interesting, which is, understanding it and approaching it academically. And you're somebody who obviously, you've got a great, you're well versed in how, in how sounds are made. And one of the things that got me curious about was, does that kind of demystify music for you? Or are you still able to kind of get just a pure spiritual response to music? Or are you always thinking about how it's done, how it's made, where it came from?
Well, music for me is the reason I do music is primarily for almost like a self-healing kind of a concept. First I use it to kind of try to bring myself into, not to get too spiritual on the conversation, but the reality is music for me has been very healing, and I'm interested in how I can use it to not only kind of communicate, but also to bring a kind of resonance, a kind of peace, if you will, into even if it's something that's really rocking, into my own life. So very often people will find me in front of my piano, just kind of vibing out. I might put the camera on to share it with other people, but to create something that just feels good and resonates for everybody. So that's the main kind of like concern. After that, it's about taking people on a musical journey and entertainment and all that kind of stuff. But the reason I do this is because it's the way I can make me feel, and then make other people feel as well.
Lovely, man, lovely. And one of the things I love about this record as well is that you take on a lot of the vocal duties on it. And man, you've got a voice. You've got a great voice. I loved hearing it. And I was wondering, what it was like for you approaching the vocals on this record, because obviously it's not your usual, arena. And would you ever consider then, branching out and say doing more vocals or stuff in like Dream Theater, or just generally?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't sing on my work all the time, but for people who've been following my whole career, like even on my first solo album, I sang on my album Listen many years ago. And a little bit on some of the other ones, but it's gonna, for the majority of people, it's gonna be like, oh my God, he sings. But so when I write music, when I write songs, it comes out pretty naturally to have a vocal element as well, and that's as much as when I'm sitting down at an instrument and I'm writing a song, it's coming out of my fingertips. Very often, it's coming out vocally as well. Okay. Of course, much lower range than James LaBrie or most singers. It's about probably like an octave lower than those people. But when I'm in my own space composing, then it's no problem because I'm writing for my range. Mm-hmm. So that really makes it work, and I really enjoy singing. For me, it's just an extension. It's another way to communicate. It's another way to feel, and I can make the melodies really work for my voice. So it's not like I'm forcing some compositional idea on a voice where the two don't relate. It just comes out as one. So that's, I think, why it works. And like if I think about like what vocalists inspired me the most, like it's I always point to like Greg Lake or John Wetton or those kind of people, and that's kind of like, even though my voice is a little lower than theirs too, that's kind of like the sound that I can relate to, that type of thing. So I enjoy the singing part. I'm glad to see that people are really responding well to it and enjoying it, because that's really cool.
I'm enjoying it, man. I'm really digging it. And when I was reading up on this record as well, one of the things that interested me was you made a point of saying that it's not a concept record, and you're right. But you did say that when you were writing the songs that you did, or Wired for Madness, that you did envision a story at the time. And I remember I did an interview not so long ago with Mark Tremonti, who did make a concept record, Mark from Alter Bridge, and he wrote a book accompanying it. And when I read the concept of the songs, I actually thought it was really cool, and I was kind of wondering, would Jordan ever consider doing that himself? And I figured I'd ask you.
So actually, a friend of mine, Peter Aurelian, who handled writing a book around the Astonishing concept, which was the last Dream Theater album, has been very inspired by this concept that I wrote the title track to, and he is writing a book with this concept in mind.
Awesome.
That will be done very soon, and I'm going to point people to that, to check out.
Fantastic, man. That's really cool. And just speaking of Dream Theater, I mean, you guys are currently, you're playing scenes from a memory live from start to finish, and I'm wondering how that's been going. That must be quite a momentous occasion for you guys every night.
You know what? It's been an amazing time for us in our career arc, if you will. It's been, Scenes is a favorite album of a lot of people. It's an album that we had a great time putting together, and to go back to it and, to perform the whole thing 20 years later has been a great feeling. That plus the fact that our the new Dream Theater album, Distance Over Time, has been so well received.
It's an incredible record.
It's just the reception has been amazing. It's like top 10, so many places around the world. So that particular joining of, a Scenes anniversary tour with Distance Over Time has been amazing. So, and for me, being in Dream Theater now for, pretty much 20 years, I'm celebrating that too. So I got to say that all together, between the energy behind Dream Theater and my new solo album coming out very soon, it's kind of a really fun, exciting time.
Awesome, man. But that's a busy schedule as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you must get to scratch a couple of different itches with these different projects. It must be very fulfilling in each way, respectively.
It is, yeah. It's awesome. Everybody says, how the hell do you do all this? How you make all this happen at once? But it's a great time for me and for everybody in the band. We're doing well, and to have a career that is so vital, so far into the career is unique. And we appreciate it, and honestly, we feel like we have really worked for this. So to get a little reward from all the work that we put out, all the years of touring and all the albums, and just kind of like being very focused and, I guess responsible, to each other and to what we do. To have come back is fantastic.
Fantastic, man. And just when we talked there about your career and all the records you've done and the amazing achievements, I recently, I just a few months back, I interviewed John Petrucci, obviously.
Great.
And since then, he's said that he'd be interested in doing the Liquid Tension experiment if the time ever presented itself. And I know that Portnoy said that as well not too long ago. And I was wondering, just while I'm on the phone to you, is that something you'd ever consider also, or where do you stand on that, my friend? Yeah,
I recently had a little musical experience with my old friend Mike Portnoy.
I noticed.
To the Edge, and we were talking about it. Hadn't played together with him in like 9 years, I think, so it was kind of fun getting together and banging out one of the old pieces.
Right.
So, and the vibe was, I've always gotten along with Mike, really. There was definitely that period of time when it was a little bit rough for everybody, just because it was, what was going on. But yeah, but we were talking about that. It would be something really fun to do. I would love to do that. It's a matter of scheduling. You know, everybody's really busy. I mean, Mike himself has how many bands? I lost count of things he's balancing. You know, and we're so busy, and I'm so busy in our worlds, and there's so many things we want to do. But to get to the point, I think that it's going to happen, but we don't have it in the schedule yet. We just have to figure out when the best time to do this really would be, and then make it happen. Very
cool, man. Well, thank you for saying that and for sharing that with me. And finally, man, I'm not going to keep you too much longer, but there was something that I ask, you know, artists about, and that I've been really, really excited to get your take on, because I just love the way you think, is just when we look at, you know, music culture as it is right now. I mean, and this kind of applies to a lot of different cultures, but there's a there's a term floating about that's called retromania, which is where, you know, things have an addiction to their own past, and a lot of people feel that a lot of bands are just kind of, you know, regurgitating things that already have been done, and they're not really there's nothing really new going on anymore. But I don't get that from Dream Theater, and I don't get that from a lot of other bands. But I was wondering, is that something that you've noticed, or where do you think it all stands at the moment?
Well, it's an interesting concept. I mean, personally, I'm always interested in moving things forward. I mean, like, I have a great interest in technology and new ways to express technology. I started a company some years ago called Wisdom with a Z Music, that primarily has been focusing on iOS musical instruments, apps. The latest one is called GeoShred. So I guess, you know, like, just talk about the concept from the standpoint of my solo album. You know, pushing the boundaries, doing things that are different, combining electronic music with prog, combining classical music, and just kind of thinking in a progressive, if you will, way is what I'm really interested in. And throughout my musical life, that's what I'm interested in. But different things require a different kind of take on that, I guess. And like with Dream Theater, I mean, this is a band that has been around for such a long time and has a real kind of almost like brand, if you will. But Dream Theater's music is very open and also stylistically very wide. So it's important to kind of, you know, tap into what it is that's all about. So from a certain point of view, it's kind of like, you know, it's not about always like recreating. We're not like Radiohead, where we're trying, you know, like one album is entirely different than the next album, and it's going to be like, who are these guys? The last album songs, this one's like electronic music. But you know, so there's a different perspective. But that said, still, you know, trying to understand what we can do that would be fresh and exciting for us, and pushing forward. So, you know, I think in music creation, I guess that a lot of it has to do with kind of there's so much, you know, we're in 2019 and so many things that have been done already. So it's a lot of it's about kind of like organizing and shaping and figuring out how to bring styles together. But I don't know. It's an interesting question, and I think that certain musicians are really focused on the future and trying to kind of like open it up, and, you know, get these electronic musicians that are doing wild stuff and creating all these really, you know, cool, crazy, you know, sounds. And then the guys who are maybe blending in new elements with, you know, more retro kind of ideas. I guess I didn't really answer this question, but just some thoughts on the matter.
No, that's perfect, man. I love having a conversation about that. I think it's one of those things that doesn't have a definitive answer, so your answer was perfect, my friend.
Okay.
Well, listen, Jordan, I'm not going to keep you any longer, my friend. I just want to say thank you so much for your time. The record is fantastic, and I wish you and you guys nothing but the best for 2019 and beyond, my friend.
Thank you so much. A pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for you know, being flexible with the schedule.
Always, my friend. Look forward to seeing you on the road.
Very cool. Okay, take care.
Have a good one, brother.
Bye.